Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We apologize for that delay. Rico, are you in the house? Are you there? Rico. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I believe I hear some noise. Rico, is that you? Are you there? Rico, my friend, where have you been?
Hello, Mir.
Hello, Rico. How have you been, sir?
Good, good. I just got back from training Rosie and stepped right into the house running. Like I said, horses you can't put on a schedule. They have their own mind.
That's right. They do have their own minds. And you've got one of the greatest there as you're in cowboy mounted shooting, ladies and gentlemen. I just got to remind everybody that Rico has been in training for cowboy mounted shooting, and we'll keep you up to date with what's going on there. But Rico, before we begin today's stellar episode, what would you ask of our viewing audience?
I am asking that you hit that subscribe button, hit the like, and share it with your friends. It's going to be a great show.
Absolutely. Make sure you share with your friends and family. Make sure you lay the smack down on that subscribe button because we got a couple of big guests with us today, ladies and gentlemen. And we'll be introducing them in a few moments from now. But I want to remind you all that this is an open forum. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask any of our guests, Rico or myself, please do so using the super chats. They're there for a reason. If you want to support us also, you can do so by using the Cash App. That's the $Masters of Wrestling. We greatly appreciate it. And I also want to remind everybody that our official Style in the Podcast t-shirts are now available. They are also only available for order here in the United States. They are $45, including shipping and handling. So, Rico, I've got a little bit of a delay here. I'm not sure what's going on with our internet connection.
I know, I've got it too.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. The video is...
There's a delay in the video? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I hope for our viewers out there, I'm going to look at the comments here. If anybody's watching, please let us know. Is our stream coming out good on your end? Because here we see a little bit of a delay. These are technical difficulties outside of our control, so I do apologize. So, Rico, should we go ahead?
Richard.
Yep. Rico, should we go ahead and introduce our first guest?
Please do.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, he is from the golden era of professional wrestling. He is 1/3 of the classic tag team, the Orient Express. They were managed by Mr. Fuji. They had some great rivalries in their time in the WWF before it came WWE. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Pat Tanaka.
What's going on, guys? Good to see you all.
It's a pleasure to see you again, Pat. How have you been these past, it feels like it's been a week since I've seen you.
Right, but it's only been a couple hours, right?
That's right.
Yesterday, right? Me and Marty, right? It was crazy.
Yeah.
But I've been good, just hanging in there, putting along, trying to get through.
Yep. Rico, this is our friend here. The two of you met for the first time at WrestleCon, correct, Rico?
Yes, correct.
That was the very first meeting, and of course, what a great meeting it was. You were there with Marty Jannetty, who we did have on, like I said, about a week ago. Tremendous interview there. We're also going to be joined by a fourth special guest today. We're still waiting his presence, so I'm not going to reveal who that is just yet. We'll keep you waiting on suspense for that one. But I want to talk about something first, which will lead into what I'm about to discuss today. So yesterday, as the two of you know, we had a show and we discussed Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan. I won't go into the details of that. If you're interested in watching that episode, go over to the Masterclass playlist and you can check that out, the episode that we had Larry Zbyszko on as our special guest. But I mentioned Hulk Hogan, and then Pat and I had a conversation last night about the Hulkster. So for the benefit, Pat, of those who don't know, tell us a little bit about your history with Hulk Hogan.
Hulk, we know each other very well. And, as far as going as, like, best friends or anything, just not like that. He's a great guy to me. I mean, he's always been a gentleman to me. He's always been kind. Nothing bad to say on that end. And then I hear a lot. I hear a lot of things about him and stuff like that. And usually, it's a I hear a lot of people talking bad about him and things like that. And the thing is that the guys that talk bad about him, they should know, man, that the reason that they make so much money now.
Pat, are you still there? You frozen. Rico, can you still hear me?
I can hear you, but we're all frozen. Every one of us. I got our podcast up and live.
About
And
every arena that there is.
Oh, he's back now. Sorry, Pat.
Yeah.
You froze.
Did you lose
there.
me?
Yes, you froze for a period of time right there. So we do apologize that. So you were just starting to talk about your relationship with Hogan, and then it cut off.
Well, I mean, like with Hogan, I mean, to me, he's a good guy. He's never done anything to me that was bad, or he's always been a stand-up guy and great guy. I mean, seriously, he's always been really, really good. And I hear a lot of people talking bad about him, and to me, I don't know. I mean, when you talk bad about him, I mean, how could you, unless he did something to you or your family or something like that, that I could see. But to me, he's always been a straight up guy. I don't know why he would, go out on a limb just to hurt anybody else. But I know that he's a business guy. He went through the training with the Hiro Matsuda, which is probably the hardest training that you'll ever go through. I saw his leg get broken, and I saw him, he'd come back right after that. I mean, he didn't give up. Most guys would have never even came back.
No, but your dad was also involved in training Hogan, correct?
Well, yeah, he bring him in, and my father helped out training and everything. I mean, it was something that he did, and to do it right. I mean, to be in there with Hiro Matsuda and my father, it's just pretty unheard of that that he would come back after someone broke his leg.
Yeah.
And he came back, man, and he did not give up. A lot of guys would try to sue, or something like that, right? He didn't, he just came back, and they broke it. They broke his leg, and I know what it was about. It's about respect,
Yeah.
So just because you're big doesn't mean that you're gonna bully through, or anything. And I don't think Hogan ever really was like that at all. To tell you the truth.
We'll throw it, Pat. I'm just going to throw it to Rico now because Rico has experiences of wrestling in Japan, so it was a totally different style, maybe a little bit more.
That's where I trained in New Japan.
Okay, so Rico, I'm going to tag over to you for a second here because I want you to elaborate on the Hulk Hogan, the relationship that maybe you've felt that you've had with him, and then let's touch a little bit on wrestling in Japan and what that was like for you, Rico.
Oh, well, I have nothing bad to say about Hulk. He always treated me great. I got to wrestle with him when Billy and Chuck were tag champions, when Edge and him on July 4th went to take the titles. I got to interfere a couple times, so I got to work with him there, and he's just funny. After I left the wrestling business, I became really good friends with him because he used to come to Las Vegas at the Palms, met his son, and he was always welcoming to me. I remember the Maloofs owned the Palms, and as I was going through police academy, I worked at a nightclub on the weekends, bouncing, security, bouncing, attitude adjuster, whatever you want to call it. So we're doing the briefing, and all security's there, and Mr. Maloof walks in with Hulk, and he's showing him this nightclub and everything, and I stand up and I go, "Hulkster!" he looks over and goes, "Rico, brother, come here." And I go over and we give each other a big hug. How you been? I'm telling him what I'm doing now. You know, I'm being at police academy, become an officer again. And as we're talking, Mr. Maloof is standing there with his jaw on the floor going, how does Hogan know one of my security guys? And, you know, it was just funny, but Hulkster's always treated me good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because you hear such contrasts with so many guys, Rico. And, you know, I've never met Hulk, so I'm oblivious. I don't know what he's like. I don't know what he's done, et cetera, but you hear many things. I think one of the most damaging things for Hulk is just the publicity. It's the media. That's arguably it. The media. Wouldn't you both agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that it's all of our enemies as well. I mean, you know, if there's people going to say great things about you, there's people going to say really rotten things about you. I mean, it just goes with the territory, right?
Yeah.
Well, don't forget, Hogan did a reality show too, so he exposed himself a little more to the world than most wrestlers. You know,
That's very true.
You kind of open yourself up.
Yeah. Which is not always the best thing to do. A lot of people that are in the limelight get lulled into that belief, misconception, if you will, that if I do a reality show and share my life with the world, it will make me that much more popular. Au contraire, it actually has damaged more people's lives than it's made them better. At least I feel.
Yep. And as
But
far as
you know,
it's
like,
go ahead.
It's like they say, any publicity is good publicity, right? Well, to me, you know, I mean, I would think that, you know, Hulk is a different breed of person anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I knew him, when he wrestled, I knew that he worked out constantly. You know, the guy worked 18 hours a day, and that's no exaggeration. He really did. I mean, he was up all night, you know, going over figures with his finance director or whoever, and then I mean, he was so smart with his money, things like that. And believe you me, I mean, me saying this is not going to get me anywhere with him because, you know, where am I going to go, right? I'm, you know, too old to do anything. So I don't worry about that. You know, I'm just telling the truth because I what I hate is when people talk bad about other people when they don't really know them, you know, and they don't know, you know, what he's been through, you know, and it's just awful. You know, I mean, especially when a guy like that has changed this business to what it is today, you know?
Yeah,
I mean, that's
agree.
true.
I agree with you. Enrico and I both agree with that. You know, we often say here, Pat, that Rico, you're going to say something? Sorry.
Well, I mean, nobody knows except Hulk himself. I know from what I did through gladiators and wrestling, the sacrifice that you give the public. How many things did he donate? How many things did he volunteer for? How many times did he, you know, give from himself? You know, they don't talk about that. They seem to talk about the dirty laundry more than his accomplishments. And he has a ton of accomplishments. You know, I mean, I bring it up. I mean, Vince McMahon, you know, now they're talking trash about him, but if it wasn't for Vince, where would the wrestling world be today? The professional side, not the personal side, the professional side of Vince. What's the professional side of Hulk Hogan? Got to look at his accomplishments. Don't diminish them because he gave a lot. And I'm telling you, and Mr. Tanaka knows, when you give yourself like that, it drains you, but drains you from the inside out because you're giving to these people. You know, you're going out there laying it all in that squared circle. You are giving them all. And to do, Mr. Tanaka, I think you were wrestling, what, 7 days a week?
Yes, we were.
See, that's 7 days a week. How many days a year, sir?
We did, well, our tours are different. We did 90 days in a row, every day on a plane. And then we'd get 3 days off. On twice on Saturday and Sundays we had to wrestle.
Wow.
Like in the morning we do Texas, the night we do New York, right? And then we were off for 3 days after the 90, and then we were back on for 40, and then off for 4 and back on for 90. That's year round. That's our schedule. We had 12 days off a year.
Incredible. Even during my era of the ruthless aggression, we worked 4 days, 5 days. It was a pay-per-view month, and we got the days off, traveling, but our cities were a lot closer. Going Texas to New York, my gosh, the plane ride right there is going to tire you out. If it was,
we wouldn't be able to shower, just hop on the plane. We'd go straight after our match, straight to the airport.
Would it be safe for me to say, Pat? And again, I'm not trying to be controversial. I'm just being realistic. Would it be safe to say that there's pretty much no way that any human, unless they were taking some form of stimulant or drugs, could have handled that schedule? I mean, I just don't think any of you could have.
No, there's no way. And that's the thing about it, And then when they started the drug program in WWE, we were still on that same tour. Same schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, shit, I must have failed every time I took a piss test, because there was no way, I mean, we were going to do stimulants no matter what we had to.
Right. Right. Rico, you're still broken up there a little bit, Rico. We see you smiling on the screen. So I don't know if you're smiling.
I mean, we're broken. We're broken here, but we're not broken on the internet. I'm watching it on the internet. It's smooth.
Okay, wonderful. I'm glad it's smooth over there.
It's smooth on the internet, but we got our gaps here.
Okay. So thank you to our fans for answering that question, which I asked very politely at the beginning of this episode. If someone could write in and tell us if it's clear on your end. So thank you. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. We want you to be involved. That's why we're going live. All right. So again, if you've got a question, use that super sticker, use that super chat and chime in. We want to hear your thoughts too. But let's talk about Vince for a second, though. Actually, before I go into that, it's true. I remember when Vince was embroiled with all those drug problems that he had. It's like everybody, I remember watching all the wrestlers. Number one, they shrank. All the guys shrank in size. Their muscle mass diminished, but they all looked physically exhausted in like 93, 94. It was a totally different thing. But you're saying he still forced you guys to travel. Like that is insane.
Yeah, no. He didn't force us. I mean, honestly, if you didn't do it, then you wouldn't have a job.
Right.
You know, and like injuries, there's no such thing. I don't care what kind of injury you had.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't going to take off. He would tell you, sorry, we have to replace you tonight then, and you won't get your job back.
Wow.
So, it's either do or die, and I think that's where the real damage came from a lot of guys that had passed, is because they would not give up no matter what. They would not take off. They would not, rest up or whatever. We did what we had to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
I can remember, all the drugs that we did.
And that's why it's so. Sorry, Rico.
Well, not only the drugs, what about the head injuries that nobody knew about back then to what we know now, a la Chris Nowinski and what's been happening,
Right.
I'm pretty sure you guys had head injuries too, but you would never.
I had 70 concussions.
70?
70, yeah.
Gosh.
And it came with the territory because I was the smallest guy there. I was 160 pounds, 5'8", wrestling these guys. And my God, they'd hit, when they hit you, they're hitting you, tackles wise. And I take that bump, when you collide with somebody, it's going to hurt, it's going to take some damage to you. So, I remember, like working with the Legion of Doom.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We worked with them
God.
6 months. 6 months we worked with them on the on the tour. So I mean, I must have been knocked out, God, so many times with them. And it was my own fault because I run into them as hard as I could, you know, no matter what. And sometimes they weren't ready, and their elbow would catch me in the face or in the head or whatever,
Yeah.
and I'd go down like a stack of potatoes, man. I mean, I'd be out. Or
Well,
uh, the body press over the top rope, you
yeah.
know. You know, I mean, you get knocked out that way. You know, you hit the railings, whatever. You
Yeah.
know, sometimes they would backdrop me over the top, and my head would hit the edge of the ring going outside. You know, knock you out. Boom.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, the head injuries. You know what? I wasn't the brightest kid anyway when I was in school, so maybe it made me smarter, right?
Well, you seem pretty smart and knowledgeable, and your recollection is extremely sharp. So I mean, you
Yeah.
know what you're talking about. So I mean, fortunately, you're one of the lucky ones that doesn't seem to have been too scathed by it. Was there anybody when you were wrestling that because you mentioned your size in comparison, was there anybody when you knew that you were on the card to face this guy that you legitimately were concerned? Was there anybody like that, Pat?
Never. I mean, because I knew everybody, pretty much. I mean, everybody I worked with, I was a referee for so long. Hell, man, I knew everybody and worked with them in the ring, as a referee. So, you know, everybody was going to take care of me. They weren't going to hurt me. I mean,
Now, when
or
you say
Amir,
yeah, sorry, Rico.
listen, I'm freezing on the live one. You two aren't. I'm gonna jump off and jump back on and see if that fix it.
Okay, Rico.
Okay,
We'll
Mr. Tanaka, I'll be right back, sir.
you got it, boss.
okay.
But
All right, well,
honestly, I mean, I loved everybody. I mean, we were all like family.
yeah,
Because honestly, what kind of life do you have? 90 days on, 3 days off, 40 days on, 4 days off. What kind of life is that?
no, you can't. It's impossible. There, I mean,
Right.
that is your life right there. It's it. Now, one thing I've asked, guests in the past, because for a fan, for the spectator, it's fun, right? We can remember, whatever your Summer Slams, your Survivor Series, what was going on. But for you guys, because the action was so hot and heavy, literally your whole lives, is it a blur to you, or can you categorically go back in your mind and say, yeah, I remember SummerSlam 91. I remember. You can't?
Nope. Zero. I mean, like if I see like someone shows me a match of me and Marty or Sean or whatever, some of the things are coming back and we'll win but you know what? Everything seems like it happened not 30 years ago. It seemed like it happened like last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, it was such a
It
huge
really
part of
does.
your life. Yeah. I mean, it was such a huge, significant part of your life. I mean, in that time, let's just say if you were working pretty much every single day of the year, most people don't do that. I mean, not everyone anyway. So you lived all these days, combined, all this time combined where you were constantly working. I mean, sheesh. You said you worked twice on the weekend, twice on Saturdays?
Yeah. Saturday and Sundays, we had 2 shows.
So how did that work then? How did that? So you literally went from one town, flew to the next, and then performed the same. Wow.
Yep. And then, like that night, it would be just like everybody would be going, let's crash or whatever, man. I mean, me and Marty, and like me, Marty, and who else was it? Probably, I think it was Sean and Paul.
Okay.
Sometimes we would all just party out, go out, stay up, and keep going for the next 4 days, that we were off.
Yeah.
And just go crazy, and why go to sleep, we would say, we're just gonna wake up, and have to go back to work.
Pat,
right?
Yeah, I know. We're going to continue that on because our other guest, before Rico comes back on, he's at the bottom of the screen. You're not going to believe it when you see him, right? The similarities to this man's father are uncanny. Ladies and gentlemen out there in the styling world, please welcome our guest, my dear friend. Here he is, Royce Crush Adams. Here he comes.
Brother!
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Your father is a dream, man. He is like the coolest guy in the world. I loved your father. He was great. I knew him for so long in Tampa, Florida. I was referee and he was wrestling. So we go back a long ways, and he's always been a gentleman, a great guy. I mean, just really good, solid guy, man. And I regret, our friendship because, I went off on a different path than him. He's always been the straight-laced, good guy you could always count on. Me, total opposite, bullshitter. Fucking just went off on the deep end, and I tell you what, your dad always stayed, and I tell you what a great person.
Yeah.
And met your brother, Dakota.
Wait, you met my brother?
Yeah.
Oh,
Wait a
really?
minute. Do you have a brother named Dakota?
Oh, no. I don't have a brother. I'm sorry. I thought you said you met my brother in Dakota. I was like, wait, what? No, I don't have a brother named Dakota. No, I have a brother named Trey, though.
Bray,
Oh,
did you
okay.
say there, Royce?
What's up?
What's your brother's name? Bray?
Trey. T-R-E.
Dre. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So Dakota might have been somebody else that was.
Trey.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah.
Wow.
But obviously, so Royce, for the benefit of those who don't know out there, so there was a team back in the golden era called Demolition. And like the Orient Express, it was a 3-man team. You had Axe, Smash, and Crush. So Crush is Royce's father. And he's now in the world of pro wrestling himself. So Royce, how is your journey coming along? You're out there in Florida right now. How's your performance? How's that new gimmick you've been working on? Is that coming to fruition?
Well, it's more like whole Ikari gimmick thing. Yeah, it's more like it's probably water in the bridge at this point. I'm just gonna stick with just being Royce Crush Adams, and honestly, it's probably for the best. To be honest with you, it's just I don't know, just more or less the same.
Yeah, it's Pat. What are you saying, Pat? What's going on?
I'm embarrassed. You know why? Gosh, man, I mixed you up with Barry Darsow.
Oh,
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, forgive me, man. But you know what? Crush and me and Steve Dunn used to hang out.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you've ever heard of Steve Dunn. He passed away back in the early 90s.
Yeah, wasn't he like a part of a group called Well Done or something like that?
Yes, absolutely. And your father was he was married to sisters, right? They were both married to I can't remember what it was. I can't remember too many, bad things for me. So sorry about that.
Yeah.
One second, gentlemen, there, because my co-star Rico is back on the air. Rico, I want to introduce you to the son of Crush. This is Royce Crush Adams.
Hello, Royce. How you doing, sir? Big fan of your father's.
I appreciate that, and I'm doing good. Thank you.
Very good,
we had some technical difficulties earlier.
I'm still having them, boss.
Still having him? Oh, yeah. I see him a little bit there. Is it on the live stream as well?
Yeah, I'm dragging on the live, but you three are good.
That's so strange. Are you on your computer or on your phone today, Rico?
On my computer.
Huh. Yeah, sometimes, hopefully it'll get a little better. At least we can hear you. I just can't see your reactions, Rico. So sometimes I don't know if you're going to be speaking.
I'm going to try something else. Hold on.
All right.
Here we go.
Okay.
Yeah,
we apologize. What was that?
I'm streaming off my phone. I'm sitting in front of my iPad. And I was like waiting for the email link. I'm like, where's this stupid link? But then I realized it's at my I got like I guess I got two different email apps. There's like regular email, and then there's my Gmail account. And my iPad doesn't have my Gmail yet, so that's why I was like sitting. I'm like, where the hell is Dan?
Stuff gets lost all the time, man. All the time.
And I see you sent it to me early this morning. I was like, yeah. Sorry, 20 minutes late.
All right, Royce, we were just talking actually at the very top of the hour. We were talking, Pat was saying how he watches the new guys and how, he's blown away by their athleticism and things like that. Hold on, let me plug Rico back in. He's blown away by the athleticism. So, which is far different from the style that your dad or Pat.
All right, I'm better. Now I'm going to switch locations.
All right, perfect. All right, Rico is back.
Right on, Rico.
I'm going to make it work.
This is what we do for all of you fans. So make sure you lay the smackdown on that subscribe button right now and join in the conversation. Like I said, we're here for the benefit of everybody watching, and whatever questions you may have for either Pat, for Royce, for Rico, for myself, just chime in, write us in, let us know what you're thinking. But Royce, I was talking about the styles. What kind of a style have you adopted? Are you trying to do the high flying stuff? Are you trying to be light on your feet, or are you doing the powerhouse stuff?
I'm more powerhouse than I am, I mean, I'm more agile than my dad. I could, I'm a little more, because I'm smaller than him. I'm more, mobile than him. I'm still more of a powerhouse type of guy. Like, I'd rather just lift a guy up and slam him than jump on a low place, I can do it body. I can do some stuff off the turnbuckle. I've done it before, but nowadays I'm more grounded, I mean, I actually
more longevity.
Yeah, well, that too. I can also military press someone as long as they're light enough.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty powerful move. Pat, do you agree with that? Do you think it should only be the lighter guys doing the athleticism, and maybe the bigger guys need to hold back on that and do more power move? What do you think?
I mean, to me, I just look at it like, whatever you love, you're going to do. It doesn't matter if you're 6'8" and you're going to do a moonsault off the top and you can complete it without killing anybody. Hey, God bless it, right? And it just helps you even more. But, I mean, you got to think about your longevity in this business. It's not very long in the first place, right? Yeah. You do that kind of stuff, you're not going to be around too long. Your knees aren't going to hold up. Your hips are going to go, I mean, I always thought, I would be able to wrestle when I'm 70, I can't even step in the ring anymore. I mean, heck, I can't reach the steps, and I always thought I could bump it till, I'm 90, but these bumps really damaged me pretty bad. I mean, it's hard for me to walk anymore, anything.
This is the resounding the conversation that we have with everybody who's been to the top of the game and has subsequently retired now. But it seems like, Pat and Rico, I think you'll have to agree that a lot of these young folks, they just don't want to listen. Royce, I'm not including you in that. You've already made the smartest decision to stay grounded, right? I'm just saying. Rico, can you teach someone can you get it through to these youngsters or not?
I just can't hear. I can see you, but I can't hear you.
Oh my gosh. So you can't, this is technical difficulties to the extreme. Oh my gosh, Rico. Well, I'm going to have to throw that question then to Pat. Do you think that you can teach these young to stay grounded or if it's in their head, it's in their head?
Yeah, well, I mean, I believe that, if it was me, you couldn't tell me nothing, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Right. No, because I think, in my mind, I'll be able to do it forever.
Right.
And that's, that's the way I've always thought. You know, and, hey, you know,
It's going to go on forever. Royce, do you have that expectation in your head, or do you realize that there's a shelf life for this?
I guess you could say at this point, well, say it a little bit of both. When you start off, you think you have all the time in the world, but even now, I mean, I'm not saying I'm hurt, but I do have a couple of kinks here or there where I'm thinking, damn, okay, life shit, you know. It's the common mentality everyone has, you know. I had it, my fellow trainees had it, everyone, you know,
Everyone,
they're
yeah.
mortal, but they realize they're not, you know what I mean? Because other times,
Royce, can I jump in there? I think that your fan and behind you, your fan is interfering with your microphone because every so
really,
often, every so often it will break your voice. You'll be speaking and it will just interfere.
one
Let's
second,
test it. All right. Yeah.
could be my phone. I'm using my phone to speak right now. That could be another thing too.
Yeah, because it's going in and out a little bit there. It's like it's almost like there's a draft. Something's blowing into the microphone of your phone. That's what it sounds like. Can you hear that, Pat, on his end?
yeah, it was breaking up.
Yeah,
It was breaking up, if anything.
I'm kind
I
of
don't know if it was the fan or, you know.
I'm downloading a Gmail app on my iPad real quick. How about this? I'll try and let's see. Okay, use that.
this is what happens when you go live, ladies and gentlemen. It's not like your pre-recorded show. Things happen, things go wrong, things that are outside of our control. So please bear
Like
with us.
Netflix.
Yeah, or Spectrum.
Right? Netflix.
I'm gonna get off of my. I'm gonna get off my phone and I'm gonna try to get back on my computer here. Okay, sound good?
Sounds good. Sounds good, man. Sounds good.
I'll be right back. I'll use the same link and everything. Just yep, I'll be right back. Don't worry.
All right. We'll see you in a bit.
Tyson's fight.
Yeah.
On Netflix.
What happened? I never watched it live. Was it in and out?
Oh man, we missed the whole end.
Well, you didn't miss much because I heard that it was a disappointment because it was like everyone cannot believe that. What was his name? Logan.
Jake Paul.
Jake Paul. Jake
right?
Paul. How could he beat Mike Tyson? Come on, give me a break for real.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know anything about boxing, you know. I mean, really, it's a work.
I'm back.
I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it is. We got Royce back. Yeah, that's better. That's much better, Royce.
When I met Muhammad Ali, he gave me a working handshake.
Okay.
He did. He for real.
Really?
Well,
yeah.
Muhammad, the boxer?
Yeah, Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali.
Oh, nice.
Because we were talking about Royce. We were talking about that fight that Tyson had with Jake Paul on Netflix.
Oh,
Did
God,
you see that?
What about it?
Yeah, terrible. That's all I got to say. Yeah.
I knew that was a cash grab the moment I heard it was announced. I was almost like, at first I was in denial. I was thinking, ain't no way that fight happening. And when they made it official, the first thing that comes to my mind, I'm thinking that fight's gonna bomb worse than anything ever. Like, you know what I mean? And I was right. I mean, even the stipulations before that with the lag on Netflix, you know, Mike making a fool of himself, walking in that jock strap, you know.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? People in
Yeah.
America, I want to work one day. People can't stop talking about it. I'm like, yeah, you see how Mike Tyson's ass looked? I'm like, well, Jesus Christ, you know, maybe we should just work on the. Anyways, I kept stuttering on it too, and I was joking. I was like, you know, I think that's just Netflix's way of saying that this fight was going to be nothing but, well,
a joke.
A joke. Yeah.
An absolute joke. We're still waiting for Rico to come back, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to let any of you know that Rico is trying to get back on. He's trying to get through some technical difficulties, and those will be worked out pretty soon. And also, write us. You tell us, what did you think of the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight? Write us in the comments. Use the live stream chat there to tell us your thoughts on that one. But boxing,
because I'm sure they got really colorful opinions about it. Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that was nice. You know, I'm like, God damn it, those stupid ass marks. You know.
Nice was far from it. I tell you what, now it was free, right? It was a free show on
Yeah.
Netflix. So you didn't have to pay. Okay, I was going to say a lot
You
of people
subscribe
probably.
to Netflix and then watch it. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of Netflix, did you guys know that in the rest of the world on Netflix, the viewers get all the WWE back library? They've got every single pay-per-view, all of that stuff, and they get the pay-per-views on Netflix.
Mhm.
But in the
Right.
United States, not the case. You
Oh,
still
yeah.
have to have Peacock. So what do you think that is, Pat? I asked someone that before. Why do you think that is? What do you reckon that's about? Why give it to the rest of the world but not here to the United States?
Because I think everybody here will pay.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, that's what it's all about, right?
Yep. So you're
Yeah.
thinking there's not enough of an audience in Europe to sustain charging them for it out there.
You know what? I do think that there is a huge audience, right? I mean, in Europe, I mean, I believe there are probably a lot more, you know,
There
but
were a lot.
right? I mean, Wimbledon Stadium, my God, man, sold that out, right?
Yep. Pat, now you weren't on that card, but were you in Wembley during that time period? Were you there on that
Yeah.
tour?
Uh huh.
Okay. Wow.
Yep.
That's
I
incredible.
was. We were working with the Rockers and Andre.
So that would have been
92.
it would have 92. You worked that?
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
That's crazy. So that would have been about the time that Royce, your dad,
Yeah. What's up?
that was the time your dad came back as the Kona Crush from
Oh,
Hawaii.
yeah, the Hawaiian gimmick. Yeah.
The Hawaiian gimmick. So that time, of course, Royce, you weren't even conceived at that time, correct? You weren't
No,
even.
I don't think I was. I think, yeah, he started doing that gimmick at like what, 92, 93?
92.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't even around until 95. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's crazy to think, because obviously by the time you're 5 years of age, he's doing his new gimmick with Brian Clark, Chronic,
Mhm.
which was now, Pat, did you happen to see the Chronic gimmick
Sure.
when they were doing that? Now,
Yeah.
were you in WCW at that time, Pat?
I mean, I was just on my way out
Okay.
when
So you would've-
they started that gimmick.
Okay.
And but I tell you what, Demolition was our first match in WWE at the Gardens.
Yeah, there
Nice.
was.
Yep.
Wow. What year was that?
1990.
90.
And it was right before WrestleMania.
So it was
That
right
was
before-
my first big. That was our first big pay-per-view.
Yep.
You know, because we came in. Let me see. Like 2 months prior to April. So yeah, February. I think we got signed in January. We started working in February. Our first match was at the Gardens against Demolition.
That's incredible. What a great place to start in Madison Square Garden against Demolition. That would have been
Unbelievable.
Axe and Smash,
Wait,
right?
so that's where
Yeah.
my dad debuted at in Madison Square Garden?
No. So your dad,
that's it.
this would have been before your dad came in. This would have
Right.
been the
This
Axe
is
and
right
Smash.
before then. But then we did an angle with Demolition where that's when your dad came in. And that's when we did the angle with them, with Legion of Doom. All three teams, were fighting each other at the time. And of course, it didn't end up with us for the World Championships. It was your dad and Legion of Doom. So,
Yeah.
but
I didn't mean to interrupt, but I think that's what they were trying to do at one point. At some point, my dad was supposed to, I don't know if he was supposed to replace Hawk or be a new member altogether, but he was supposed to be at one point, he was supposed to be a part of not Demolition.
Demolition. Legion of Doom.
Yeah, he's supposed to be a part. He even has when you had the You know, he became heel Crush. You know how he had like several face paints on and stuff.
Yep.
One of them, if you look closely, is similar to Hawk's face paint. You know, the
Right. The gray. It was gray, right?
That's right.
Well, it was actually black, I think. I actually
Oh,
have
but it was. But I thought the
no.
outline was black and the middle was gray.
Yeah, I actually have a picture. I actually have an old portrait of my dad in a title card over here. It's kind of an old photo thing, but yeah, I can see the picture right now, and it has my dad with the new face paint on. It looks Asian and Oriental and stuff, but you can tell by the markings how it splits right here. It's looks a lot like what Hawk had, you know.
Right.
Can you grab it? Can you grab that picture or not? Rico.
It's a pretty big picture, but I can pick it up real quick. Give 1 second.
Okay. Rico, can you hear me?
I can hear you guys, but there's something wrong with my computer.
It's
I don't
probably
know
the
what it
internet.
is.
Probably
Is
the
it?
internet.
Yeah,
connection,
I've
it
done
sounds like.
reset and everything. Oh, there it is.
Okay.
It's
Can
hard
you
to
see that?
because of the glare and stuff, but can you like make it out to what it looks like though?
Oh yeah, I can see that. That's with the demolition style makeup. Yeah.
Well, Legion of Doom, because if you look, like I said, it looks very. Here, let me see if I can get it there close up.
Oh yeah. I see that. Yeah.
Like the black mark looks a lot like Hawk's mark. If you look it up on your,
Where it comes down into a curl.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Rico, we were just talking about, if you can still hear me, we were talking about Crush with the face paint similar to Legion of Doom, because we were talking about how Pat, his debut match was against Demolition, Axe and Smash, prior to Crush joining the group, which I'm going to get into next, because, you're one of the few, your dad was part of a 3-man tag team. And then, of course, the Orient Express was a 3-man tag team, but the similarities don't end there. They were both managed by Mr. Fuji. So it's kind of cool, all the similarities between these two teams. And let's bring Mr. Fuji up, because the man is a legend, right? He is a legend. And first of all, does anyone remember when he passed? Because I forget what year it was.
Was it 2014, 2015, somewhere around there?
Okay, so he did go on for quite a ways then. Now, did you ever get a chance to meet him, Royce, or have a chat with him at all?
Nah, I never got to meet him, unfortunately. I heard he was a nice dude, though. I hear he was like very, very humble. Wasn't he from Japan? He was actually born there.
Hawaii.
He's from
Hawaii.
Okay, he was from Hawaii then. Gotcha.
Yeah.
But he was still raised very, very humble like and stuff, and I heard everyone liked him too. I remember he also managed my dad when he was doing that heel gimmick that I showed you, the old face paint, all that.
That's right. That's right. They got back together. Pat, when did you first meet Mr. Fuji? What was that like?
This is when we first came into New York. That's when we met each other. He had knew my father for a long time, so because he worked with Morocco and all them. My father was close to Don Morocco, and his partner was Toro Tanaka. Fuji. It was Fuji and Tanaka. Toro Tanaka. Professor.
I'm gonna hang that portrait back up real quick. Just gonna put it away.
Oh, you're gonna hang the portrait up? Okay.
Well,
right, no worries,
it's kind of like just laying on the side. I'm just gonna correct it real quick.
Yeah.
No
So
worries,
then Fuji. At first, it was a little hard with Fuji because he was a little upset because he had us as a tag team and we were too small. That was the deal there. And he being on top and everything with all the other guys, it was hard for him to take a step down with us, But after the Rockers match, he came around.
Yeah. So you guys created that bond after that. Once you showed him what you guys could do, that was when
because they never let us work, really. They never let us go completely. They just said, yeah, not all that kind of stuff tonight, And they held us until we did Royal Rumble, really. But we did do some stuff in WrestleMania.
Yeah. How impactful do you think it was having Fuji with the Orient Express? Do you think it was like, I mean, obviously, once you guys were well established, it wasn't a necessity anymore. But do you think it was a necessity to begin with to have him there with you guys?
Absolutely, absolutely. Me and Paul were atrocious on interviews. We couldn't talk to save our lives, and then Sato couldn't speak English, so that was hard there too. So he could speak English, but he couldn't do an interview English. They didn't really want him to do English, so so we kind of like kept our mouth shut and let Fuji do it. And believe you me, that was probably the best thing to do because he don't want me talking. I can remember I had one line to do for this interview. And we're in those small boxes where we do the interviews.
Okay.
It's small, those small little things they put up, when they're doing interviews, there's like 20 of them in this one little room.
Yeah.
And we walk in this little tiny room. It's me, Fuji, and Sato, and then 3 cameramen, right? Yeah. And we're doing interviews, and they're going, you could see everybody sweating so bad, and they're going, take 106, Tanaka. Everybody's ready to kill me, and I'm going, I can't get it right. I'm sorry. Don't let me do any interviews, Yeah. Oh God, it was so funny because they were just melting in this little room that they had. Now I couldn't get out 3 words, I'm going, they're going, forget it.
Rico, we were talking about the importance of Mr. Fuji to Pat at the beginning because Mr. Fuji was the talker for them as a manager. So we're talking about delving into the manager. Now everybody knows that Rico was a manager too. He got to experience that role too with Billy and Chuck. Tremendous role, Rico. I mean, obviously you were the glue that held that team together. In fact, you were the star of that team.
Well, like I said, they were losing heat, and Vince said, "You're going to be their stylist." And I said, "Stylist? What? Hairstylist? Foot stylist? What kind of stylist?" He looked at me and goes, "Flesh it out," and walked away.
Just left him to it. But you can learn a lot, from doing that. I mean, obviously, you're getting a crash course. You're around everything that's happening, and I mean, regardless, Rico, it was a tremendous position for you to be in. Now, I want to switch with Royce because now, Royce, your dad was managed with Mr. Fuji. Obviously, you weren't there at the time, but now you've been able to go back and watch tapes. In your opinion, did you think it was better when your dad was with Fuji or just when he was just by himself? What you saw as a spectator?
I think it was good that Mr. Fuji managed my dad because my dad always gave off like the big intimidating presence, and Fuji, it's almost like brains and brawn when you think about it, the smart man leading the brutish bad guy into the ring and stuff, almost like a ringmaster leading an untamed animal into the audience and stuff, that's how I saw it, and it worked pretty well. Plus, comparing sizes too, I honestly thought Mr. Fuji was a small dude. Like I thought he was like, I don't know, 5'2" or something compared to my dad. Because my dad was huge. But then I learned
everybody looked 5'2" against your dad.
Yeah, true. But man, he made no disrespect to Fuji or nothing, but he made him look like a freaking a dwarf, basically. Yeah. Like one of those smaller guys. I'm like, wow, how tall is he, Dad? He's like, somewhere around 5'10". 5'10", are you sure?
Yeah, I mean, he was like Andre the Giant to me.
Yeah.
Fuji was.
Yeah.
He was Andre the Giant to a lot of people, But yeah, but back to what I was saying, though, it was a smart thing because Fuji, like I said, it was like the brains and stuff and leading my dad, the big brute. Kind of like, you ever seen Mad Max Thunderdome?
The original, or is this the
reboot? Yeah, it's like one of the older movies. It's the one with the Tina Turner in it. You know what I'm talking about?
That's Thunderdome.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of like the
Thunderdome,
whole Master Blaster thing. You know what I'm talking about? That's basically what they
Rico, do you
had.
know
The
that
whole,
part?
yeah, that's pretty much what
Yep.
it was. You know, the Master Blaster thing for them. You know, but in a Japanese WWE style. You know,
Yeah,
and it
it sounds
works.
it does work. It sounds familiar. It also sounds like you're trying to flatter me, Royce, because you know I am the master. You know that is
What?
my role. So I
Oh,
mean,
I
you
didn't.
know,
I didn't. I forgot you were
thank
going by
you,
Master in this thing. I'm sorry.
thank you.
I'm just trying to bring up like comparisons here, but yeah, that's pretty much how it was. You know, like I said, you know, smart guy leading the tough guy into the ring. But thankfully, my dad wasn't an idiot, you know, at all. So he was a smart guy too in life.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it was a tremendous time. Like I said, I don't think Rico. Do you think there'll ever be anything like it again? I mean, be honest. Do you think he'll ever get
No.
back to that level?
No. No.
Not at all. Pat, do you ever think that
No.
it'll get back to that level?
Well, I
No.
mean, wrestling evolves, man. You know, it evolves. It becomes different every. I say it recycles. Is what happens. You know,
Mhm.
we have to go to that place where bring it all the way down to build it right back up. You know, to
Mhm.
start over again because all the shit that they do in wrestling now, you know, to stop somebody, you got to shoot them, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I mean, you
Yeah.
do every 16-pound drivers, 5, you know, off the top, you know, whatever they're called, Canadian destroyers. And then, you know, I mean, you get so many of them. How are you going to beat somebody, you know? Well, what they do is they start it all over again, you know? And, you know, that's how it's always done. But maybe now it's different. I don't know. Maybe
There
now,
were
you know.
there's some different there was a situation that happened the other night, and one of my teammates, my business associate, McCallion, contacted me after Raw this week. Can everybody hear me here? Oh, it froze up there. Is everything
I
good?
can hear you.
Okay.
You're good.
There was an episode of Monday Night Raw this week, as there always is, and I guess there was a match with Rhea Ripley, and something went wrong with one of the wrestlers she was facing, and her knee buckled, and then
Oh yeah.
and then obviously everything has to change, right? So now whatever you had planned is not going to happen anymore. You're going to have to call it on the fly, and you're going to have to call it in the ring, right, Rico? And
Yep.
so, but if you watch it, to me, knowing how things work and being inside the business, I can see the cracks that occurred. I could see the fear that was mounting. That there was a fear to just call it on the fly. And I was thinking, my gosh, you know, Pat, back in your time, Rico, you guys were calling it on the fly every time, right? Am I
Yeah, there
wrong?
wasn't a match that we didn't. I mean, you know, you had to. Our
Yeah,
dressing rooms were usually separate, so we didn't get to talk to them, you know?
right.
Yeah.
So you're
In
calling it
my
on the fly.
day, all we knew was the finish. That's all Vince cared about was the finish and how long it was a time when the referee
Oh,
said go
Rico's
home.
having technical issues again. He's
Yeah.
uploading there.
But can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay. So in my era, all Vince was worried about was the finish. How long do you need to go home? 2.5 minutes. And then we work backwards from there. So if something happened to somebody, we took it home. And that happened to me basically in the OVW arena. I was wrestling a heavyweight title match on TV, and I tore my quad right in the middle of the match. And there's no way you move after a torn quad.
Nope.
You know, and in WWE, wrestling Dudley Boys with Charlie Haas for the tag team titles in Chicago, Bubba tore my hamstring, throwing me out of the ring. And when I got back in, I told him it was torn, and he continued with the match. And here I am hobbling around, and he tore it 2 more times before the end of the match. He decided to continue with the end of the match, no matter if I was hurt, and he did it. And I said, I'm not getting up. You're carrying me out. I heard pop 3 times.
Now we've talked about that, gentlemen. Pat and Royce, Rico and I have talked about that. Obviously, I'm disgusted by that. Anybody who would do that to my brother in Christ here, my business associate, my business partner here, I'm disgusted with that. Pat, did you ever experience anything like that where you were injured and some guy just kept on you?
No, but what happened was I was wrestling Bam Bam Bigelow. And we had a match, and it was so funny. They just started pushing him in, and this is not in WWE. It was in Tennessee for the Jarretts, right? But he was getting ready to wrestle Lawler, so they wanted me to put him over. I said, not a problem, man. I said, love to, and because he was a hell of a worker, he could do anything. And he was like 385 or something like that, man. I was 160 pounds, but I was on top at the time, but they needed to get him over, so I just said, please put him over. I said, not a problem, man. I'd love to. And I remember at the end of the match, I'm sorry, not at the end. Right in the beginning of the match, we were just working a couple spots, where I give him a couple kicks in the face, boom, 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 and then he grabs. We were handcuffed and to the ropes. Mm-hmm. So I remember he forgot that he was handcuffed, and he charged me as hard as he could to give me a big tackle, right? And the thing yanked his arm back, tore his shoulder out, right?
Oh.
Yeah. So I said, "Oh shit!" He was screaming, man, at the top of his lungs. Oh fuck! Just cussing up a storm. And so anyway, he had to go over. And I was thinking, how can I do this? So I said, okay. I said, I'm going up to the top. When I jump, I said, just try to move out of the way. I said, I'll miss you, but just go ahead and try to move out of the way. So I go up to the top. I dive, boom, and he didn't move at all. So I just acted like I missed. I came short, and boom. And then I rolled over and I said, put your arm over my chest. He put his arm over my chest, and the referee counted 1, 2, 3, right? And right there, we became really, really good friends because he goes, man, why'd you do it, bro? He goes, you should just beat me. I said, man, I said, what good would that be? I said, I'd get fired, first of all.
Right.
And second of all, I'm ruining an angle, and that's what we're all about in this territory, making angles and making them work, and shit, man. Yeah, I tell you what, 2 weeks later, he had to work with Lawler on top, and he was it. Yeah, he did it, and no, he didn't even look like he was hurt. But that's man, incredible. I tell you what, that thing ripped and tore when he did that.
But you did a good thing. You respected your brother. You said, move, just let me, and to just roll over and cover me. You didn't persist to do anything else to get over, much like the situation where Rico was in with Rico. What do you call it? Bubba Ray?
Flubber Ray Fudley.
There you go. He's got a different name for him. So, if he's watching out there, again, in fact, Rico, you issued a challenge to Bubba Ray right here on this podcast, which is
he hasn't answered.
It's yet to be answered. So to be continued on that one. Royce, going down to you, my friend. Have you had any situations where you've performed or been in training where somebody you felt has stepped over the line and tried to take advantage of you in that ring?
Honestly, I can't really think of anything like that. I mean, usually in my case, we usually just call in the back. We go out there, we do what we did call in the back, and then we just maybe for like the heat, we'll improvise like a few things and stuff. But for the most part, well, actually, and I take it back. There'll be times where, and this is like in my I guess my newer days, it still happens from time to time, but I would sometimes be working like smaller guys, right? And keep in mind, a lot of it happened back when I was still new. I was still trying to learn, so. But a lot of guys who are usually smaller than me, they'll try and do like big man stuff on me. Like they'll try and lift me around stuff, and I would try and maybe tell them, I don't know, you sure that's a good idea? I'm a little big. No, I got this. I can lift you. I'm like, all right, I'll support. And then And then sure enough, we do the match, and then we go backstage, and we usually get a little, all right, not bad, do this next time. And then but then sometimes the higher up be like, dude, what's up with that? Why you throwing him around? You're half his size. You shouldn't be able to do that. And they either take it into stride, be like, okay, that's right, I'm fine. I'll learn next time. Or they'll be like, man, I don't give a damn. Sometimes they get too cocky and think that the next Hulk Hogan lifting Andre the Giant. That's what they probably think of themselves, when they try and throw me around, because they think if I can throw this guy, I can look good. Wrong,
Well,
stupid.
exactly.
You're
I was
killing
gonna
the
say
story.
wrong.
Yeah.
You're trying to make yourself look like the next Hulk Hogan, but you're only making yourself look like an arrogant fool, and everyone can see that, and it makes you look like a prick. It makes me look like an amateur, like a weakling, and it just makes the match fall through. No one's gonna believe that no more. They'll be like, oh great, we got another Ray trying to be Hogan, looking like, okay, what's going on over here now? Freaking
Yeah.
That's what a lot of the guys do, and I try to protect my size for the most part, but it's hard when you're dealing with a lot of arrogant, excuse my language, arrogant assholes. I mean, it's like,
yeah,
and they just don't see it. That's the problem with my generation. A lot of them are too arrogant. They don't.
Royce, I think the thing is that those kind of guys are the kind of guys that are scraping to get on top. To get over on you, to get over on everyone else, and because they don't have any confidence that they're really going to make it, so they're trying to take every shortcut to get there. And that's all they're doing, man. And I mean, and to tell you the truth, the more shortcuts you take, the worse it is for yourself. I'm telling you, man. I know
unless
that.
you want to look like James Ellsworth going against Braun Strowman, then be my guest, amigo.
I think as a believability, and that's what people need to realize and understand. Like, again, even back in the day, Pat, when you went up against a big guy, you acted like a smaller guy, trying to find a way in, a way to get him down, a way to bring him right. So it made sense, but you weren't gonna ever get to a position where you were gonna power slam crush, you know what I mean, or something like. So and that's what made the stories so much realer, so much truer, something that you could really believe. Yeah, Rico. Yeah, believable.
Yeah.
But I do want to come back to calling it in the ring, because I think there's something to be said about that, right? If everything's planned out, and Royce, I'm going to loop you in here because I'm around it when we're performing. But when you're calling every single detail before you even go out there, what if something goes wrong? What if there's something that you didn't count on? What if the crowd starts booing you instead of cheering you? What if they boo you instead of cheer you? There's all these wild cards.
Factors. Yeah, factors.
Wild card factors. And I saw on Monday Night Raw just how they stumbled after getting broken out of what they had planned, what they had scripted, to how they adjusted. And it was not seamless at all. It was very awkward to the trained eye, not to the casual observer, but to the trained eye. It was very awkward. And I think that's a dangerous place for pro wrestling to be, to continuously hang in a place where everything is planned out move for move, because then it strips away. And Rico, I want you to hear your thoughts on this. Does that not strip away from you telling a good story? Because if the crowd's booing or they're silent, but you're continuing on with what you planned, does that not destroy the story? Does that not destroy it by being too planned?
Destroys the match, like I said, I mean, the only time I ever, or me and another person ever called something, is if they had a specialty move, I had to know how to take it, or some of my moves, you had to know how to take it. So I would tell them, okay, this is the move, this is how you take it, protect yourself, this is what's going to happen. And that's about the only thing we did. And, they shine, or when I was a heel, they shined. Heat, I didn't even call. Heat, I just did in the ring. And if the audience sparked at something I did, I kept going back to it. You know, that meant they didn't like it because everybody's different in every town. You know, I don't care if it was step on their eyes, rake their face across the rope, you know, or keep them in the corner, pull their hair, you know. But I never called my heat, you know, unless I was going to do a move. You know, I know you aren't supposed to have these specialty moves as a heel, but that's what made me. My martial art moves, the martial art kicks, do them at a wrong time, and you'll get the reaction. When I flip back to face, then, you know, I knew when to do them. But I had good teachers, you know. I had Chris Jericho, Fit Finley, Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit, and no, I'm not afraid to say that name. And I had many people back there helping me with what I came up with to put it in the right spot in a match. And that's how I went from a manager to a singles wrestler to tag team champion twice.
Yeah, no, it makes
You know?
sense. Being able to be organic and in the moment, Rico, so you could react.
Well, you have to listen, but not let them know you're listening. But, you know, you play off the crowd and you get them to hate you. And I remember wrestling Rikishi in Australia at the Global Warming Tour. I was the first match out, and there's no other bigger energize when you get 60,000 people screaming Rico sucks at the same time. You know you did your job.
Oh yeah,
Beautiful sound, right?
It's a beautiful sound.
Absolutely.
But
you know, then you wrestle a pistol like Rey Mysterio, and you get, you know, and you're doing your moves as a heel, and you get 19,000 screaming Rico sucks. That means you're doing your job as a heel, and you put the baby face over as best you can. And Ray is a great worker. Great worker.
Oh my God, it's amazing work.
Yeah,
amazing.
He still works today, right, Rey Mysterio?
Yeah,
yes, he does.
Man,
WWE.
Yes, he
I want
does.
to take a moment to remind everybody, if you have not yet subscribed, make sure you lay the smackdown on that subscribe button. Make sure you like this video, share it with your friends and family. And I want to remind everybody, because I'm going to give you all about another 15 minutes here, 15 minutes or so. If you have any questions, use that super chat, super sticker. If you got a question for Pat, if you got a question for Royce, Rico, or myself, do so now. We got about 15 minutes left, and then we're going to be off the air. But coming back to this thing, because I know I'm a stickler on this calling it in the ring thing here. Royce, I'm going to kick it down to you. Do you think at this point, with your knowledge of the business, that if you were thrown into a situation where you had to call a 12-minute match in the ring, do you think you could do it at this point?
I mean, it's not going to be easy, but it's possible, though. Yeah.
Okay. It's good to hear that, because I think I've heard so many conflicting reports where people have said, oh, the reason it's not called in the ring anymore is because of the money that's involved and everything has to be right and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I kind of believe that, but I kind of don't believe it at the same time. I honestly just think it was somewhere along the line, Vince McMahon lost confidence in the younger guys because he just saw that they couldn't do this anymore, or they were lazy, whatever it was, because I don't believe that. Because there were high stakes involved, Pat, when you were there. Rico, when you were there. It was still
I think it's control.
Control. Okay. Explain that, Pat.
Okay. You go out there, you tell the guy exactly everything that he's doing. I mean, that is just absolutely everything was just choreographed, right?
Yeah.
That's his doing. He's making sure that the choreograph is what he wants.
Right.
That's all. I mean, and he has total control over that. You
So
can't change.
His vision.
Right.
He's the screenwriter. He is the writer from Hollywood who writes the pen and says, I want to see it exactly beat for beat for beat for this. And that's it.
Well, I mean, whoever the writer was, I'm sure he was right over the shoulder.
Well, I tell you, when I was in the Gorilla Box, it was the production crew, Vince, and whoever was the agent for that match, right next to Vince. And if something went wrong, he'd look at the agent and go, "I didn't say to do that."
Okay.
See, I tell you what. Okay, so I remember Royal Rumble, 91, when we worked with the Rockers. I remember them going first. They said, guys, 3 minutes. We said, cool, no problem, man. 3 minutes, that's awesome. Just go in there, do something real quick. Boom, 1, 2, 3, and we're out of there, right? Time to party, And then right before we went out, came up and says, guys, go as long as you want, 30 minutes, no less, right? And they said, guys, tear the house down. You can do anything you want tonight.
Wow.
And I mean, we were like, wow, cool, And we had no time to talk about what we were going to do. We walked out there, man, and I tell you what, we were screaming spots at each other, and the people didn't know.
Right.
Because we were laughing and we were like, acting like, fuck, cussing at each other, just telling spots while we were doing it. It was just, it was so easy that night. And oh my God, it was like probably one of the best matches we've ever had. And
it was legendary. It was legendary, that match. I want to encourage anybody that hasn't seen that. Go. You can find it on YouTube. I saw it the other day. WWE has it up. Rockers against the Orient Express from Royal Rumble 91. It was a great match. Rico, were you about to say something there? I heard your speaker.
Nope. I'm just listening.
Oh, okay. We got some kickback here. Like I said, there's a little bit of a breeze. It sounds like a breeze or something breaking in and out. Very strange. It's been a strange day of technical difficulties here. A very weird one.
I think you need to call StreamYard and tell them they need to fix something, because I've never had a StreamYard like this. Never.
No, it's strange because it's only you that's freezing up right there, Rico.
I got all four of you freezing on my end. I rebooted my router. I restarted my computer. I did everything that I know, and I'm still getting this.
Yeah.
Hey guys, do you mind if I cut out? You got to get back real quick, man. And
okay.
I told him I'd be going like 45 to an hour.
Okay, all right, Pat. I'll be in touch with you. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode, Pat. It's been an absolute
pleasure, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Tanaka.
Thanks, guys. See you soon. God bless.
So much. You guys be cool. Have a good talk.
All right.
Bye. See ya.
Bye. All right. So now it's just become the three. So Royce, you've been absorbing all this. I'm going to let you defend this generation somewhat now. So again, listen to what Pat and Rico have said now, and we've discussed about calling it in the ring. What do you think? Do you think it's better to call it in the ring?
Well, in my opinion, that's a good question, actually. The way I see it, it's all about improvising, doing what works for the crowd. And there's been times where I've been in a match where we had to call a lot of the stuff in the ring or switch things around. Like I remember one time I was wrestling as a face, and this was a little before I became a heel. The crowd was booing me like crazy because they didn't like me, and they liked the guy that I was working with, who was a heel for some reason. And we still stuck with the same plan, but then we made a couple of changes here and there. And I was like, oh damn, they hate me. Okay, I'm gonna have to do this then. Oh, okay, I got you in the eye. Okay, I think that worked. No, okay, let's go for this then. Basically we had to like improvise a little bit on the fly, and that's actually the same thing that happened at the On the Fly show last year. Remember that?
No, I don't remember that. What was that?
Oh well, so this was at the last CAC event. That's where we met actually, and yeah, they had this thing called On the Fly where some of the crowd or whoever will pick two random wrestlers to go into the ring, usually a face and a heel.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I wasn't there that night, but I remember. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Brian Blair was the one that made the pick, and he picked me first, and I was on the face side. and he picked this other guy, this bigger dude who was also on the face side, and I was supposed to wrestle as a face, but then over at the start of the match, we were locking up doing this, and then we decided I'm just gonna have to be a heel, and I was like, all right, sure, let's do it. So then he and I would be calling stuff in the ring. I would be doing heel stuff. He would do powerful baby stuff, and he was a bigger dude, so he was actually able to throw me around like legit bigger, like he had to be somewhere around at least 260, maybe more, and yeah, and so we made it work, and it was a good match. Surprisingly,
Did
I
the
was
crowd
surprised
react?
the crowd did react. That they were like, oh, like that. They reacted to the parts they're supposed to. So I say, yeah, they got a good reaction.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
good.
I mean, now we were in Germany, and JBL
Yeah.
going against Eddie Guerrero. So
Mm-hmm.
who's the face and who's the heel?
Oh, in that stipulation, last I heard, Eddie Guerrero was Eddie Guerrero the face and JBL the heel, right?
Yep, JBL was the heel. Now we're in Germany,
What?
and in the match, the fans switched. They were booing Guerrero and cheering JBL.
Interesting.
And it was just they weren't like following the program. So in the middle of the match, which is illegal to do this, but JBL didn't know this, he started doing the Hitler goose step in the ring. He did it in the ring to go heel. Well, that's forbidden in Germany. Yeah. And the German police was waiting to arrest him, and Vince got him out on his private jet before they could arrest him.
That's crazy.
But, for somebody wanting to turn heel real quick, he did.
Mm-hmm.
I think I heard about that actually. Yeah, it's something about the Hitler salute, right? In the walking.
The goose step. It's called the goose step, where they do that stiff-legged goose step.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he raised his right arm, and oh my gosh.
Terrible. He's almost as bad as Kanye West, the man with multiple personalities. Sheesh.
Oh, God. Oh, is that what they're calling it now? They're calling it multiple personalities?
He is. I can't believe he's gone from, and it's a travesty because Rico, he's claimed Jesus at one time. He came out. Do you remember that, Rico?
False prophet. False.
Yeah. It was a false prophet. He's not a believer. He doesn't really believe in Jesus Christ. He's not a Christian. He's
trying to call it the ring.
Yeah. Have you seen, Royce, have you seen that disturbing video that Kanye West put out?
At this point, I just don't listen to him anymore. I mean, from time to time, I'll hear a thing or two, new album, new hit, marriage between him and Kim, and then the divorce, and then that's pretty much it. And then I've been hearing about his whole religious thing. Did he not go on the air wearing some kind of outfit or something?
Yeah, he was, because he was being very, very racist. I'm not going to mention what he said, but he went on with a sort of like a bag on his head. He went on Alex Jones's show, and he was just some really despicable things that have been coming out of that man recently. I just pray for him to find redemption and for his mind to be healed, because obviously something's wrong, big time. In him.
I would say find Jesus, but at this point, I think that's not going to do him any better.
He's gone way down there. I mean, he'd have to he's got to hit rock bottom first in order for him to come back up. This point, his heart, as they say in our good book in the Bible, his heart is hardened, and it's going to take, only God is going to be able to fix that and heal that if he wants it. If he's got to want it too. But Rico, we've got about 4 minutes left here. Royce, we got about 4 minutes left to the end of this live stream. I do want to take a moment to apologize to everybody, because the technical glitches today were off the charts. Trust me.
Horrendous.
I'm going to be
contacting. It was a bit wonky. And I apologize on my end too, because I was sitting here waiting for like a link or something from my laptop here.
Yeah.
But it like I had the email app ready, but I was like, where's the link at? I even sent you a text. Where's the link? And I realized it went to directly to the Gmail account, and I was like, oh damn, that's why I had to pull up my phone and look through that, and I found it, and then I was like, well, this sucks because I remember you said 6:15. I was like, are you sure this is the right time or whatever? But then, yeah, so
I
was
went.
on
I
me.
went on the computer, then I went on the phone, and then I was okay on the phone, but I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, it's just, trust me, Rico, I will be taking Slade and McCallion with me. We will march. Delirium will go straight into the offices of StreamYard, and we'll get this rectified.
Got
So,
to.
no need to worry about that. It will be taken care of once and for all. So, so Royce, I want to give you the stage right here at the end here. Is there anything you want to share with the viewers? Anything coming up, or anything you want to get off your chest? Because the last time we had you on, the tabloids got a hold of that particular podcast and went crazy with it. And
I was wondering where we were gonna come across that, because I'm not gonna lie, dude. I've been on several podcasts before where I'll say this and that, and they usually it never gains traction, like it's like, okay, that's on there, but no one really, it's whatever. And I know you have a strong following, as you told me, but when I told you about the deal that they sent me on behalf of my dad, I didn't think it was going to blow up the way it did, because as soon as you posted that thing on Sunday, I saw I think a post about it on Facebook or something, and then I looked up online on the internet. If you looked up my dad's name, it would say Royce Adams, Royce Adams, son of Crush, signs Legends deal with WWE. I'm like, what the hell? The hell? It was everywhere. I had some folks come up to me and mentioning this, folks at work, and I was thinking two things. I was thinking, one, I didn't think it was going to be, that big a deal, and two, I wish I worded that better. I was saying all sorts. I was like, yeah, and I was like this, and he was like that. I'm like, damn, I should have known that this was going to be like a huge deal. I should have worded it a little better. Say stuff like, he calls me while I was at work. I thought he was a scam. Reached back out to him. We came to an agreement.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just felt like a spur of the moment trying to mesh it all together. But yeah, but no, I don't really have any big announcements like that. Nothing's come to light yet. I still wrestle whenever I can, and that's pretty much it. Right. I mean, right now with Tampa Bay Pro, I got this guy who's acting as my manager. He calls himself and I know you're gonna be all, really? He calls himself Princess Josh. I know, and he's like, yeah. Go on
Princess
my Facebook.
Josh.
Yes, I'm not the one that picked his name. He's the one that decided for himself, and I'm like,
Might as well
whatever.
call himself Justin Bieber.
Right? Probably. Yeah, but he's a good talker. He's a great talker, actually. If you go on my Facebook page, he did like a post-match promo, and he can talk. He's actually really good at what he does, so don't judge the book by its cover just yet. Okay, I mean,
all right.
I gotta watch it first. I'm not holding judgment yet.
Yeah.
Okay,
just
good.
the name, like we talked last week, The Miz. Oh my God, the name. So I'm gonna look at Princess Josh before I make a decision.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that.
Yeah,
because if not, you're gonna have to go on the hunt. You're gonna have to find a manager like Mr. Fuji to guide you, and that'll be the ultimate throwback to your dad, because that works. Hey, what worked for your dad is gonna work for you, man. That's what
exactly.
I say.
I mean, and he's kind of smaller than me too, so it's almost like rinse and repeat, just like what we were talking about earlier. Bringing something from the past to the now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's
everything comes
there.
full circle, Royce. Everything comes full circle.
It really does.
Yeah, just timing. That's it.
Yeah. Everything does come to full circle, and then timing is a big deal. And speaking of time, Rico, we've reached that top of the hour and a half.
Yep.
So I'm going to let you close us out with what you typically share with our viewers.
Royce, take this to heed. I've lived this my whole life, and I've been blessed to live a lot of life. And I've always thought this motto: what your mind can conceive, your heart can achieve.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Amen.
I'll keep that in mind, sir. Thank you.
So, Royce, I want to thank
so
you
much for coming on the show. Thank you, Royce.
Yeah, we want to thank you, Royce, for coming on the show with us. Of course, we'll get through these technical difficulties. We'll have other shows that'll be mapped out where it won't be more of just a free for all, so fans could go chime in and ask questions. Next time, it'll be a more poignant story, more poignant thread throughout the piece. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Those of you who did this week, make sure you lay the smack down on that subscribe button, like the video, share it with your friends and family, and we'll see you back here next week on Styling the Podcast. Until then, God bless.
God bless.